So let's solve this problem now. We have been given a solution of a substance and whose mass is given, that is 0.124 gram of a substance X. So that substance is unknown. Okay, next, what else we have been given in this problem is, so the unknown substance mass is given, that is 0.124 grams, and it is dissolved in 25 liters of ethanoic acid. Ethanoic acid is actually acetic acid and has a freezing point 0.324 degrees Celsius below that of the pure acid. And pure acid's uh, freezing point is also given, that is 16.6 degrees. So this 16.6 degrees, this is the freezing point of pure acid, and this is actually our delta T. This is T of pure liquid. What else do we have? This we have, that is weight, and this is actually volume of solvent. What else do we have? Calculate the molecular mass of X, that is unknown. So we have to find M. And what else is given? Given the specific latent heat of fusion, that is we have here is LF, and that is given this thing. This thing is actually LF. So if we see this carefully, we don't have KF. So that means this problem is actually a two-step problem where we'll have to first find the value of KF. Right? And what do we have? We have for KF what all we need. KF formula was R based on LF, it was R TF square divided by LF into 1000. So we have LF, we have TF, we don't know what is R, but R is actually a universal gas constant, right? So R value is 8.314. This is the value of R. What else do we need? We have this TF. TF is actually given in degrees Celsius, and for this formula, wherever R is involved, we actually need the temperatures to be in Kelvin scale. So TF is 16.6 degrees Celsius, which is actually equals to 273.2 plus 16.6. So that makes it Kelvin, and that is equals to 289.8 Kelvin. So this is the Kelvin or temperature or TF in Kelvin scale. LF we already know, that is 180.75 joules. So now what is KF? KF is R, that is 8.314 into square of TF, that is 289.8 square. This divided by LF, that is 180.75 into 1000. And when we solve this, we get this equals to 3.86. So this 3.86 is our value of KF. Now we need this KF in order to find the molecular mass. And what is molecular weight or molecular mass? That was 1000 into KF into W divided by delta T, that is depression in freezing point, into the weight of solvent. Now weight of solvent is not given directly. It is given that it is 25 liters of ethanoic acid. 25 liters of ethanoic acid, but there is no density as well. So if it is not there, let's change this to gram. So this is actually capital W. So that will be 1000 into Kf, which we just now calculated, that is 3.86, into weight of the solvent, that is 0.124 grams, divided by delta T, which is 0.324, into the weight of solvent, that is 25. Right, we had to change it to from 25 liter to 25 grams because it was not specified, the density was not specified. So if we don't have the density, then how will we be able to convert it to mass? So that's why we changed that to gram itself and we used it directly. If the density is given, then we'll multiply volume into density and we'll get the mass. Okay, so we have this molar mass, and when we solve this, we get that this is equals to 59.09. So this is the molar mass, and that's how we calculate it. So there is some solute, normal solute, it only dissolves. But if there is an electrolyte, it actually dissociates. Dissociates means it breaks into ions and dissolve. So this is the difference between normal solute and an electrolyte. Right? So when electrolyte dissociates, this will obviously increase the number of particles. And whatever we have studied, that is vapor pressure or boiling point elevation or freezing point, and next we are going to study osmosis as well. So all these things are colligative properties. And what we said about colligative properties, they completely depend on number of particles, which, as we can see here, is intact in normal solutes, but it changes in case of electrolytes. And there can be the reverse as well. It may also decrease when these electrolytes, instead of dissociating, they may even combine to form a new salt. So in that case, the number of particles will decrease. And this number of particles has an important role in determining these colligative properties. As we have seen, boiling point depends on vapor pressure and vapor pressure depends on mole fraction. Right? Freezing point depends on vapor pressure and vapor pressure depends on mole fraction. So it depends on the number of moles. And number of moles may decrease or increase depending on whether it is an electrolyte or a normal solute. So if it is an electrolyte, mostly it will increase. So the colligative effect of an electrolytic solute or electrolyte solution is always greater than that of a non-electrolyte of the same molar concentration. I think that is clear, that these colligative effect or the properties which we are going to study or find out, they'll have an impact or they will be impacted due to the electrolytic solutions. Okay, and what is that? So if the concentration is same, but the solute is different, that means one case the solute is a you can say a non-electrolytic, and in another case it is electrolytic. So if these two are two different cases, then these two cases will have different colligative properties. For example, it will have different uh, freezing point depression, it will have different boiling point elevation, as well as it will have different vapor pressure difference. This relative ratio is known as, or it is given by a scientist, and it is known as Van 't Hoff factor, right? So now we have to, what is that? This is called Van 't Hoff's factor. So this is actually given by this scientist whose name is Van 't Hoff, right? And it is represented by I. And what is I? I is actually simply the ratio of colligative effect. It is the ratio of colligative effect produced by an electrolyte solution to the corresponding effect for the same concentration of a non-electrolyte solution. Right, so it can be calculated, this ratio can be calculated in any ways, so many ways, that is in terms of freezing point, in terms of boiling point, in terms of vapor pressure. So what does that mean? It is, say for example, change in or depression in freezing point divided by delta TF. Now what does it mean? This delta TF is freezing point depression from the electrolyte measured experimentally. This freezing point will be you can say for the electrolyte, and it is measured experimentally. But this delta TF naught is the theoretical value, right? It is calculated for a non-electrolyte of the equal concentration. So this is for non-electrolyte, and this is used by, or it is actually done by, or found out by doing the calculations of the formula which we have seen earlier. This is the difference between this delta TF naught and delta TF. So our calculation will give us this value, delta TF naught, but actual value in TF will be different. And we can understand this. Suppose suppose we are talking about a solution having a electrolyte solute. So that solute, if it is an electrolyte, it will break, or it will decompose, or it will dissociate into the solution. And when it does so, it will increase the number of particles in the solution. And when it will increase the number of particles in the solution, it will occupy the upper layer. So we can say that the number of particles occupying the upper layer is now more, right? But the number of but based on the concentration, we have a different value. When we do the calculation, we'll have a value of delta TF, that is change in freezing point or change in boiling point. But when we actually measure this, we find a different value. Why? Because the number of particles are more as compared to its concentration. Concentration gives us the uh, participation or the percentage of the entire electrolyte, right? But because it is an electrolyte, it will break and number of particles in the solution will be more, and thereby the vapor pressure will be different, or the freezing point, the actual freezing point will also be different. Okay, so that is the difference in these two things, or we can say that this delta TF naught is the value of depression of freezing point of electrolyte solution, assuming there is no ionization. Right? So what we here do is just doing this calculation means here we are assuming no ionization. We are assuming that there is no ionization taking place. But that is not the case. Ionization, because it is an electrolyte, there will be an ionization. And if there is an ionization, the values or the delta TF will have abnormal values. This is called abnormal values or recorded values or experimented values, which will be different from our calculated values. So obviously in such cases, what will happen? This, we can say that the actual change, right? Actual change or actual colligative property will be equals to I, that is Van 't Hoff factor, into the calculated values. So what we have to do is simple. We still use the calculation. I mean, in case of our numericals, which we'll have, we still do the same thing. That is, we still use the concentration and all to find the delta TF. And later, when we have to find actuals, in that case, we just multiply it by I. What is I? I is Van 't Hoff factor. Okay, so that is about Van 't Hoff factor, or the solutions containing electrolyte or electrolytic solutions. So similar relation you will get for delta Kb as well as Kf. Yes, Nikita, I'll send the notes as well as recording as well. Okay, so that is Van 't Hoff's factor, and I think you will be able to apply this in all other formulas as well. So if you want me to write that, so I can write that as well. Say for example, delta TF using our calculation will be what? That will be 1000 into Kf into the weight of solute divided by the mass of the solute, sorry, the molar mass of the solute into the weight of solvent. So now what will be the actual TF? It will be I into the same thing. That is I into 1000 into Kf into W divided by the molar mass into the weight of solvent. So this is the only change. That is, we still have to do the same thing, but just multiply it by I, right? And what is I? I is simply this ratio. And this ratio is again obtained experimentally. That is delta TF divided by delta TF naught, that is calculated, or delta TB divided by delta TB naught. So whatever is in the denominator, that is the calculated value, or lowering of vapor pressure divided by lowering of vapor pressure of, or calculated value of that. So these are the different values or different ways or different conditions, or 3 different conditions are there in which you can find the delta or value of I, that is the want of factor. And obviously this want of factor or this electrolytes, due to this, these colligative properties, we have used these colligative properties to find them or determine or calculate the molecular mass. So molecular mass was dependent on these colligative properties. So if there is some abnormality or some problem in these colligative properties, these problem will get reflected in the molecular mass as well, right? So we can actually now rewrite this as, say for example, if we consider freezing point, so delta TF by delta TF naught, that is experimental by calculated. So this ratio will also be equal to m naught by m. What is that? If you see here carefully, this delta TF is inversely proportional to molar mass, right? Here we can see that this delta TF and this molar mass are inversely proportional. So we have written the same thing here, correct? And what is delta TF by delta TF naught? That is actually equals to I. So this simply means, or from here I can derive that. So now here what will be m naught? Now here this m naught is calculated and this m is actual. So we can say that now this molecular mass is equals to I into m naught, that is calculated molar mass. So even this is multiplied by the same factor. M naught is the calculated one and m is the from the observation, molecular mass from the observed data. Right. And now this I, which we see here, what can we say about this value of I? Will it be greater than 1? Will it be equal to 1? Or will it be less than 1? So whenever there is an electrolyte, the number of particles are increasing. Number of particles are increasing, and these colligative properties, they depend on the number of particles. So there, when this actual value or the experimental value will be always greater than this calculated value. So the value of I is always greater than 1. The experimental molecular weight will always be less than the theoretical. This I thing is always greater than 1. So the calculated into something which is greater than 1. So experimental will be greater than that. So this is what we have to note. I is simple. I is actual number of particles divided by number of particles for no ionization. Right. So next thing before solving problems we'll see is this relation between want of factor and degree of dissociation. And then we'll come back to this abnormal molecular mass. So next is relation between want of factor, that is I, and alpha. So we should know what is this I and what is this alpha. I is want of factor This is the new thing. So this is actually degree of dissociation. And I hope you already know what is alpha or what is degree of dissociation. This value I is actually equals to actual number of particles divided by number of particles assuming there is no ionization. So obviously, if I assume that there is no ionization, the number of particles will be less. So from here, what can we say? This I will be always greater than 1. Right? This is the basic definition of I. So based on this itself, I can say that this I will be always greater than 1. And because so let's go to the next part. So degree of dissociation is what? It is the fraction of electrolyte which is dissociated into ions. So if degree of dissociation is say 50%, that is alpha is 50%, that means out of 100, only 50 molecules will break into ions, right? So alpha is that. Alpha is degree of dissociation, and that means, suppose example, if it is say 50%, right? 50% or 0.5, both are same. That means out of X moles, if there are X moles, only X by 2 will dissociate. That's what we mean by degree of dissociation. So how are these two related? That's we are going to see next. So suppose 1 mole of an electrolyte is capable of forming new ions on complete dissociation. But if degree of dissociation is alpha, right? If degree of dissociation is alpha, and suppose initially we have 1 mole of the electrolyte, and out of 1 mole, what does it mean? When we say 50%, it is X by 2. So same way, if I say alpha is the degree of dissociation, that means alpha will dissolve. So initially it is 1 mole electrolyte. Out of this, what happened? Alpha dissociated. So what does it mean? Now, how much is left? So number of undissociated molecules is how much? That is 1 minus alpha. So out of 1 mole which we had in the beginning, alpha has dissociated. And what is the number of ions produced? Number of ions produced is alpha into nu. And what is nu? Nu is basically capacity of 1 mole, or we can say 1 mole electrolyte or ions from 1 mole electrolyte. So from 1 mole we will get nu, but now we don't have nu. The ions which dissociated are only alpha. So that means alpha into nu is the now the ions which are dissociated. So now what is the total number of particles? Total number of particles in this will have to include dissociated as well as not dissociated. So that is alpha 1 minus alpha plus alpha into nu. This is the total number of particles now. And we can see that it has increased because now the particle number of particles are those which are dissociated plus those which are not dissociated, both combined. And what did we say? I, that is van 't Hoff factor, is actually the ratio of number of particles, or the actual number of particles divided by number of particles assuming no ionization. So when there is no ionization, we had only 1 mole particle. But if there is an ionization, as so due to ionization, we can see the actual number of particles is this, that is 1 minus alpha plus alpha nu divided by 1. So that is equals to I. Or we can say that I is equals to 1 minus alpha plus alpha nu, or I minus 1 is equals to alpha nu minus 1. So what is alpha? Alpha is I minus 1 divided by nu minus 1. This is the relation between dissociation constant and I, that is van 't Hoff factor. So this helps us in finding the van 't Hoff factors, and van 't Hoff factor will help us in finding the actual molecular mass, which in turns depend on the colligative properties like TF, TB, and relative lowering of vapor pressure.